and it can be such an unlock for people. And it's funny because I'll go and give speeches, or I'll go give talks, or I'll talk to people. I'm like, well, have you ever considered LinkedIn? Because I'll hear what they're trying to do, and they're like, LinkedIn, what? And I think the people that get it, but the people who don't are like, whoa, LinkedIn, is that a thing? And I'm like, it is a thing. And while I specialize in most of the major platforms, LinkedIn is just such an exciting place right now, especially right now.
Hey, Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So just could you just say hi to everyone? Tell them who you are.
Hello, friends. I am Katie McKiever. I reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a social media expert. I have been in the social media space professionally for over 12 years, which makes me feel like almost a dinosaur in this day and age in that industry. And it's something I just absolutely am obsessed with. I love helping businesses and brands grow on social media to tell their stories.
And I mean, that means you've been super busy over the last few years, because I feel like social media has gotten a major facelift in terms of how we use it, the interface, the features. They're rapidly changing, growing, and evolving, right?
All the time, every single day. That is what I spend my time on day in, day out, is keeping up with it.
And I feel like it's also, it almost like, for those who are experts in social media, it also applies more pressure to you, because it's like a moving target, moving goalpost of, well, the strategies I was talking about yesterday don't work anymore. So now I have to completely change what I've been talking about. And I can kind of relate to you with the 2020 tax law. So.
You're trying to hit a target too. And I try to be that buffer and that safe haven for people, because people do get all in a whirl about social media and the overwhelm and the constant updating. And I try to be that safe place, and that, place where they can go and get in tune with what are their actual goals online. What are their metrics telling them? Like, we need to, get that foundation, because people miss it. They see the squirrel, they see the cool new shiny object, and they want to go there. And I always try to ground people of, okay, what are we actually trying to do here? What is it? Let's define our goals, and then let's play around with some channels and make that happen. This can be fun and it can be impactful, but you can also be smart about it. And I think a missing piece that really gets people, uneasy, is that they don't have something to refer back to, which is the metrics of what's working. Like, what's actually moving the needle? What are people actually clicking on? Am I going in a direction that's a positive or a negative? And people just have no concept of that if they're not keeping up with it, and just being smart with their strategy.
I completely agree. It's the same what I do with my clients as a CFO. When we talk about, we have to turn the data into decisions. We need good data, and then we need to be able to use that data to make decisions on where to go next, what's working, what isn't, from a financial standpoint. But it's no different with social media. Whatever metrics you're using to measure success, whether that be likes, shares, saves, whatever, then we have to be starting to look at what is actually moving the needle and what is actually accomplishing our goals. Because it's so easy to get caught up in, well, that got no likes, or that got no shares, or that got no, but it's how many views did it get? How many questions did you get about that post after? Things that could actually move the needle for what you're intending to do with your social media presence. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, I'm going to use it. I love data and decisions. I think it's so smart. And you're right. It is about what are you trying to do and accomplish here. And I think people get caught up in the numbers, they get caught up in the vanity metrics. And I don't have the biggest following, but if I haven't built a 6-figure business for myself, I mean, that was a goal for me, and I did it. Right. And I don't have this massive following. And I and you can do that too if you're smart and strategic and really make smart decisions via the data.
I totally agree. So today we're going to actually talk about a particular platform. I really want to go deeper into the intent, purpose, and benefits of LinkedIn. And I believe LinkedIn it can be perceived as an underrated platform. I think that it's commonly perceived as your virtual resume with a bunch of college interns celebrating their first job mixed with corporate people. I see a lot of suits. I see a lot of like headshots. I see, it's a professional environment, but I think it's way more than that. Even though that's how it kind of started, I think it's heading in a different direction, and I want to get your kind of take on that, and I want you to unpack how you see LinkedIn right now.
I think you're exactly right with this new kind of rebranding LinkedIn is having, and it can be such an unlock for people. And it's funny because I'll go and give speeches, or I'll go give talks, or I'll talk to people. I'm like, well, have you ever considered LinkedIn? Because I'll hear what they're trying to do, and they're like, LinkedIn, what? And I
Yeah.
think the people that get it, but the people who don't are like, whoa, LinkedIn, is that a thing? And I'm like, it is a thing. And while I specialize in most of the major platforms, LinkedIn is just such an exciting place right now, especially right now, just because of all of what they're doing. I mean, they're being really smart. The leadership is being really smart about how they're keeping people safe and how they're kind of organizing their platform, but also with what they're doing with content and their creator program, and they're just doing some really, really cool things. So for the people who are fearful of social media, for the brands who are fearful of crisis, or naysayers or trolls, LinkedIn is a really safe and smart place to get started in the social media sphere. And
Mm-hmm.
especially for those executives or those leaders who are like, I don't know how, if people are going to be looking at me in a weird way, if I'm on Instagram, or if I, start tweeting, that could be kind of sketchy to be on Twitter and not super know what you're doing. So LinkedIn is just a really smart place to get started. And that's where I will direct people to a lot of times. And right now, I feel like it's being underrated, just like you said, in three kind of main ways. And I would love to work through those if you're good with that.
Totally. Let's go.
Okay. So the first one being the underrated reason for LinkedIn right now is you already described it, business first. People go onto this platform. Yes, it houses your resume in, a digital way. Fine. But you can do so much more with it. And people go onto the platform with business in mind. Now think about it. This is so unique. And it's the only platform where this happens. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You'll go there if you just want to, scroll. If you got some downtime, you want to scroll, or you want to, check in with something, or you want some, entertainment, or you just want to be distracted. You'll just go there to scroll through. LinkedIn, you're purposely going there with business in mind. Like it's a professional atmosphere, and you're already thinking money upon entry. Like you're opening LinkedIn of like, okay, what's going on in the world? What's going on in my industry? And what are my people in my professional world talking about? It's a money mindset off the top. So unlike anywhere else. And that is very unique and very underrated, because the quality of leads and prospects and potential business is, x-fold from other places. So that's just a really, really good place to get started. Second, from an underrated platform standpoint, on LinkedIn, you are just one click away from any decision maker. I mean, I would probably stand and declare most major decision makers are on this platform. So that search bar at the top of that, on your desktop or on, your mobile LinkedIn app, there is gold in that search bar, because you can search. And I was just on a client strategy call this morning going through who can we find that is strategic for them to be talking about. I would recommend anybody listening to this to go into LinkedIn and go to that search bar. You can search for any job title, anybody, and then not only can you search for any job title of somebody you're trying to get to, but then you can even filter it further down to the company, or the industry, or the connection. If you want somebody you have maybe a warm a warm lead into, do like a second connection and do a job title search. And you might have an end to somebody that you've been trying to get to for who knows how long. So you can think about, coming back to our goal talk, think about what your goals are on these platforms. And then you can really dig into some strategic ways to find people, to get in conversation with people, and to, go about your merry way and do business down the road with. It's just really smart.
And before you hit on the third one, I want to just pause there and go, I already took that away, going, you know what? That would be a killer way for me to find guests for the show. Other folks who are in my industry, CFOs, right? Tax specialists, people who are doing big things and becoming thought leaders are really showing up on LinkedIn with that thought leadership and with sharing a lot of valuable content. So as opposed to kind of going through Instagram and going, people who are similar to this person and then people who are similar to this person, and then inevitably I end up on Reels. Somehow Instagram always ends up directing me. I always end up landing scrolling and I'm like, what did I come in here for? It's like going in the kitchen for something and you're like, wait a minute. So I think that LinkedIn, again, if you run a podcast, great for guest, cultivation, great for showing up on there with content, thought leadership, stuff like that. But you already gave me that great idea.
Amazing. I think that's such a smart application for that. Podcast guest, or looking for your next speaker opportunity. You can find the assistants or the admins or the what have you of whatever organization you're getting to strike up a conversation and to see who is in charge of booking speakers, who's in charge of sales, whatever. This is a way to get closer to who you want to be close to and to, find what you're looking for. So all of the decision makers are there, just one search away, and, job opportunities or guest opportunities, all kinds of things. And the third underrated way for LinkedIn right now is the algorithm is different. And when I specifically say algorithm, I think that's such a buzzword, and, but it's your home page. So just like Facebook, just like any platform where it's just the stream of content on that page, on LinkedIn, the home page is built differently. And Facebook, you're seeing the majority of your homepage, you're seeing, people you're connected with, your friends and family, maybe a couple of brands get their posts, fed to you there. But on LinkedIn, it is built off of the connections. So when you go to your homepage, you might not necessarily be seeing, a one-for-one feed of all your connections posts. A good chunk of your home feed is also posts that your connections engaged with. So what this means is, say you, Shannon, you posted something, I engaged with it, and somebody that is connected with me is not connected with you. Your post could have really large real estate on somebody's home feed that is not connected to you, but they're connected to me. So LinkedIn becomes an engagement play in a lot of ways for a strategy. It's not just let's pump out content all day on LinkedIn. It's also a really, really strong place to engage with people, to engage with those decision makers that we've talked about, but also to just engage in general, because if you're engaging, people are engaging with you, and that just gives your content the ability to be served up to more people in more people's feeds that aren't even connected to you.
I love that. I'm going to give two other ways I've used LinkedIn tangibly that have panned out well, but they're a little bit more in the literal assumptions of how it's being used. So one is I've made it a point to show up consistently on LinkedIn and convey and articulate our core values, what it's like to work with us, what our company culture is like, and talk about how we serve our clients with an intention that when I post a job on LinkedIn or when I'm recruiting actively, that someone will go find me on LinkedIn. They will probably search for me there as an employer or as a person and find out more about me and see that type of content. So I wanted to make sure I had a presence someone could land on if they find me, and I was proud of what I was showcasing and that I wanted to attract the right people in. The other thing was, I started sharing more, I guess, thought leadership for other accountants. So I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs lately, and I was like, I need an outlet to talk to my fellow accountants and be like, what's going on, guys? So I said, you know what? That's a great place to start those conversations. And just like you said, I didn't realize why, but I think now I realize that out of nowhere, a couple people liked the post, and now all these accountants follow me. And I realized it's because their connections were all seeing it or reacting to it. And like you said, it's like a contagion. It's going out a lot faster and a lot more people are seeing it, but it's not like the reels that are like 15, 30 seconds of mindlessness entertainment. It's like really engaging stuff. And like I said, thought leadership and more, I'd say deeper dive content. I feel like long form content can do well on LinkedIn as opposed to your 15-second videos.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's a good point. And thanks for that. Those real world examples of how this has worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's brilliant. The long form content, and I think that's a good call out too, is because I love diving into the strengths for my clients or just in general. I think it's just a good best practice when you're trying to create content or just be on platforms. Use your strengths and find platforms that really pull on your strengths, because LinkedIn is one that really you can lean into if you're a writer, or if you're, video can work that well there too. But it's one of the only platforms, that and Twitter, that I think really work well from a writing standpoint, or a strong just copy standpoint. So there are ways to kind of, if you don't identify with one platform because of whatever formatting, you don't like how to do it, then maybe LinkedIn is a place to look into, because you can get away with other types of content there too.
Yeah. It's very forgiving. Like it's not there's no like, well, if you're not posting this, you're not really going to get much engagement. Like there's so much variety there. Um
Mm-hmm.
I want to switch gears for a second, Katie, and ask, is there anyone who should not be using LinkedIn?
Hmm. I think if you're really, it's from like of how you do business. But I think the kind of person who shouldn't be on LinkedIn is maybe somebody who is not there with a service
Mm,
mindset, or one there to serve. This goes back to just my overall philosophy of doing business, but I think
yeah.
it's about giving value much more so than it is about, you know, making, doing business with me, or whatever.
Right.
I think it's just about giving and being of service and using your unique gifts and being in places to help people, and it comes back around to you. That's
Mhm.
what I lead with, and that's what I hope other people are in business for, is to lead with service and to lead with help, and lead with using these unique gifts that we're given each individually. Individually, each one of us has things that we're supposed to give out into this world. So that's the way to lead on LinkedIn, on any of these platforms. And if you're not doing that, and if it's a gimme, smash and grab kind of mentality, especially on LinkedIn, it just comes off as ick. It's just
Yeah.
yuck.
Yeah, I agree. What tips do you have for folks who maybe are exploring a LinkedIn strategy? They're present on other social networks and they're doing pretty well, but they're going, I want to tap into this LinkedIn thing. I'm feeling a little inspired to go check this out. How do they adapt their strategy? And I'm going to ask one more thing on top of that too. Feel free to just keep elaborating. But how do they adapt their strategy and what should they be posting?
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and share that.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting. So adapting your strategy, really, it's about, okay, so if you're trying to add another platform, this is a big thing for me, because clients come to me or people come to me, Katie, what should I post? Where should I be? And I always say, so I'm just backing up a little bit. I always say, start with one platform, pick one, and lock it in for at least 3 months. Like, you're marrying yourself to this platform. You are partner in partner with this platform. So you're in it for 3 months, consistently showing up. I would say at a minimum weekly, hopefully more, but I don't want to overwhelm anybody. So at least commit to showing up weekly, hopefully more, for 3 months on one platform. And you'll get in a rhythm. Like as soon as you do that, as soon as you commit to it and you really stick with it,
Momentum.
you'll figure it out. Yeah, the momentum, and you'll get into it. You'll kind of be like, you'll bob and weave and you'll tweak and do all these things and be like, okay, let me try this next week, or let me do this next week. Okay, I'm feeling this, and this worked, this didn't. And you'll get a good understanding after 3 months of what did and didn't work, what you liked and didn't like. Then you can add a platform, or you can keep drilling in on that one. But that's when I would say you can add another platform. So if we're at the stage where LinkedIn, you might be active on other platforms, but LinkedIn might be new for you, or, LinkedIn, or, you might want to revive. I joke with people because if I'm talking to people about LinkedIn, one of the first questions I might ask is, do you remember your password? Because so many people, it's become such a funny thing now. Like, wait, I don't know if I even remember my password to get into it. So first find your password.
Yeah. I do that every time because I think I log in on my computer so infrequently that I'm like, oh yeah, what's my password?
Yes. So first find your password, and then make sure you build out your profile. So make sure you got a header image, your picture is updated with your head, your face, and then fill out your profile. You got a headline option there, put in a little about. It doesn't have to be super, a whole article on yourself. Just put in a paragraph, a couple sentences, what have you. And then let's start putting out content on LinkedIn. So you feel like you got a good, strong profile there, and you feel like that represents yourself well, then great. This is where you should begin. And I would say personal profiles on LinkedIn get a lot more traction than company profiles. Now, yes, the larger companies, the AT&Ts of the world, the Nikes of the world, even the mid-sized companies, they do well on LinkedIn, and they got teams and all that. But if you are a solopreneur or a small team, you can absolutely build a business page for yourself. And so that's a separate profile. And you can have your personal profile as well. And you can attach your experience to your business page. But now you have possibly 2 profiles on LinkedIn. But I would say operate from your personal profile, because your personal brand on LinkedIn and your personal activity from your personal profile just goes a lot further than a brand page does. So let's start to get active on your personal page and build out your personal brand. And I will say the easiest way to get started with building out content for yourself on your personal profile, and you could start, if anybody listening to this could start this next week, and I will give you your first 3 posts. And this is a rinse and repeat situation. You can do this week after week after week. And I would hope that you would have the time to set aside. This could seriously take you 15 minutes to block out these 3 posts for your next week. So the first one is a post of something you learned for that week. Super easy. And I will tell you from a button pushing standpoint, LinkedIn operates much like Facebook. There's you go and you hit add post, and you write your caption, or you write your copy, and you can add an image, you can add a video. Same setup as doing a Facebook post that maybe most people are probably familiar with that are listening. So very similar. So that's all you're doing here on LinkedIn. You're just adding a post and hitting post or publish. So
Perfect.
something you learned this week. I'm sure most of us were experts in our field, or we're emerging businesses, what have you. We're getting our feet wet, we're getting started. You have something you learned this week, whether it was about your business, whether it was about, something in your industry, what have you. It could be a paragraph, it could be a couple sentences, it could be an image of you, and then, you put a value of something you learned that week, post it and get it out into the world. Your second post next week is something you are proud of. Now, this builds into something that, probably smart to make it business related, something you're proud of. So, you got your first client, or, you hit a milestone in your business, or there's so many ways you can make this about you, but not about you. And you can tell that story to other people so
Yeah.
they can gravitate toward it too and learn from you of like, okay, how did she or he get to that point? Like, you can kind of build in value. That's not just look at me, yay, I made this milestone,
It
but
could be a
tell that story.
testimonial.
Yes.
It could be client results. It could be like it's more of like what are you celebrating? What can you celebrate this week and share about so that you can pass that along? And when you say be proud of, it doesn't have to be self-centric.
Absolutely. That's exactly. And the way to go about any of these posts is to add value in some way of something somebody has as a takeaway. They can walk away from that post saying, huh, that gave me something to think about. So that's a way to go about that. And that's a great point. And then the third post that you can do next week is something you found interesting. And I love this because we're probably listening to podcasts, which you are right now, and you could share this podcast, absolutely. Something you found interesting within this podcast, a quote. You can tag people associated, whether it's an article you're listening, or you read an article recently in your industry, or a book you're reading and you found this one passage in this book, or like this one paragraph that was just so compelling. Whatever you found interesting. And the smart thing to do about this is to post it, either if it's a link to the podcast, or if it's a screenshot, or if it's a article, on the New York Times, and put a link in there in your post, and then write a little something, why that was profound to you. Tag the author, tag the podcast host, tag whoever is associated with that piece of content, because that just builds out your audience ecosystem. Because what happens is that person that you just tagged gets notified, and they'll come and check out your post and be like, oh, this was great, thank you so much. They'll comment, and then you get into
The
you get
cycle
into that
of the
cycle
audience
of
spreading.
engagement. Hello. Yes.
Exactly. And you know what's really interesting about those three different posts that you just listed? Those are also amazing journal prompts. So those are also amazing nightly, recap of your day. I'm currently journaling in the app Growth Day, and they sound like questions that they ask you, like, what are you proud of today? What did you accomplish today? What did you learn today? What did you appreciate about today? And when you say those things, I'm like, this sounds like my journal. And what's interesting is if creating content is overwhelming, those are just the questions you have to answer. So it's, if you're overwhelmed by this and going, I don't know what to post, I don't know what to post, you could answer those three questions every night before you go to bed and journal it. And there is so much content on the back burner that you can just start accumulating every day, documenting that. And it's super easy to post once you have a lot of these ideas kind of flowing and you're used to tapping into those questions.
Mm-hmm. So true. And I think just starting to get that under your belt, just that the first week might be weird, second week might still feel weird. Once you get going, I'm telling you, it will get so much easier. It won't feel as weird, and you won't feel as as vulnerable, and you're just out there in this world that you're unfamiliar with. It will be okay. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. You might, a year down the road, you might look back on those posts and cringe a little bit. That's fine. Everybody starts somewhere, and this is a great place to start.
Yeah, your third grade painting wasn't a Picasso, guys. It's fine. It's fine. Expectations. So Katie, you were telling me before we hit record about this amazing resource that you have for entrepreneurs or anyone who's trying to develop a social media presence. Please share it because it's so valuable.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Yes, every week I put together a newsletter, which is just a rundown of the latest social media platform updates. I love doing it. I call it my digital baby because it's just something I'm obsessed with. I love keeping up with it for other people so you don't have to. And it's really, I break it down to where the things that you need to know, because I feel like it becomes overwhelming when you feel like you have to keep up with so much and you're not sure what matters and what doesn't. And I give you only the stuff that matters. And that
what's in it? Like features, updates, stuff like that?
Yeah, the latest Instagram update, Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, what did he just tell us about, his security update, or what's going on with Twitter, or what LinkedIn, in the newsletter I just put out, LinkedIn gave some updates on their settings for creators. So things like that of, what algorithm is updated all of that stuff. If there's a new Reels feature, I will plug that in. And it's usually about 5 to 10 updates within the newsletter. So every week you get the latest and greatest.
Awesome. And who is that for? Any platform? What platforms do you cover?
I cover most of them: Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Wow.
All of the major ones. Yes. And
You must be very busy.
It's something I love, and it's for everybody from the solopreneur. I have marketing teams within large organizations that are subscribed to it that, learn about things for their corporate, positioning, and also just for their personal brand. So it's really runs the gamut for who this is for.
And this is all free. I just want to clarify.
Absolutely free. Yeah. I just send it out, you subscribe, and I send it out, and you can find me or find it on any of my social media channel platforms. I'm at Katie McKiever, KATIEMCKIEVER. Find me on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and I have a link to my newsletter right there at the top, and I would love if you subscribed.
We're going to make it even easier and make sure you have a link to that in the show notes so you can subscribe, because guys, hurry up and sign up for this before she charges for it and realizes that she should be, because this is insane. This is super valuable. People charge for that. So I hope you guys will jump in and subscribe to her newsletter. Katie, this is super valuable and really gets us really rethinking how we view LinkedIn. So thank you so much for your time today and all the value you gave our audience.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.